We're going to get started in about a minute. We'll just give other people a chance. Oh, look who's here.
Hey, Brenda.
Brenda! Yay, Brenda's here.
For those of you who may not know it, Brenda is the wonderful, amazing, oh, I thought she was going to come up. Oh, she left.
You can still talk about her. Oh, there she is.
There she is. She's showing herself now.
I'd love to see her. Can we see her?
Yeah. Can you tilt your We can only see like your glasses. There you go.
I can't even see that. She's not nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay ergonomic.
There you are.
Oh, Brenda, I was just singing your praises that you're associate publisher. Is that right? Do I have your title right?
You do.
And not
Fabulous.
only that,
Wow.
though, what I want to say is, in my experience, you are everything. You have supported me in 1,000 really different kinds of ways, and you're the one who brought us all together into
Exactly.
this space.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I think togetherness is what we need right now, even if we can't be near each other.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And sorry, I was just chatting over here. Oh, MJ says Brenda is an amazing mentor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it's so true. I love it. Well, I'm going to get us started. And as people join, they can just join in. But first and foremost, I wanted to say, I've got to stop looking at the chat. I wanted to say that I am so happy that we're here. I'm so grateful to you guys, each of you, for taking the time to be here. And I am recording this call. I wanted to be really upfront about that because I had a lot of people on my list who couldn't be here, but they wanted the recording. And I know Connie said the same thing. So if anybody, doesn't want to be on video or, have your voice recorded, no need to do that. So without further ado, I'm Richert Belul, and my book is Say It Now. Welcome to people who are just joining us. We're just getting started. You haven't missed a thing. And I am really glad to have Dawna, Connie, and Ronnie here with me. You guys want to just give a wave? And I really wanted to start us off just by going around to each of the authors who's here. And I want to have you introduce yourself, obviously give your name and where you live. But then I'd also like you to, obviously the name of your book too, that would be really helpful. And then to start us off, maybe to tell us your favorite self-care practice right now so that we get a chance. Oh, Connie, you're gonna get us centered first, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. And then we'll do this. Thank you so much. I'm glad I just saw your smiling face.
Great. I'm very happy to do that. So let's all just take a moment. If you'd like, you can close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. As we take this time to be present with one another here in this moment that we've come together for this panel, and that in the realm of spirit, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your tradition is, there is no time or space, that we are really one with each other in consciousness by intentionally coming together here right now. And let's just take a moment to breathe into that and to feel our unity, to feel our connection from our hearts. And our connection with this beautiful planet that we live on, that it is supporting us, it's supporting all life. It's supporting us as we journey through this challenging time as human beings. And to know that there is that infinite source that is holding all of us through this time, that is caring for all of us, that's within our own hearts. It's right here with you now, wherever you are. And it's right here with us as a collective. And I know that whatever words are spoken and shared today from our hearts, from our souls, is supporting the highest good of all of us who are here on this call and all of those who listen to it later. We're in this together. And I'm so grateful to be with you together through this transformative experience. Many blessings to all. And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is.
Connie, thank you so much. What a gift
Welcome.
that was to all of us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I would love it. Maybe why don't you start us off by, again, sharing your name, where you live, your book, and then what your number one self-care practice or habit is at this moment in time.
Oh, I'm Reverend Connie Habash. My book, you can see it, is Awakening from Anxiety, a spiritual guide to living more calm, confident, and courageous life. I think needed now more than ever. And I'm in Menlo Park, California, which is near San Francisco, San Jose. Stanford University is just 15 minutes away. And my number one self-care practice is being in the present moment, is coming back to right here, right now, just as it is, rather than my mind going off into all of these, scary futures, things that could happen. When I come right back to right here, right now, in my body, right here, I usually find that I'm okay. And so my practice is, I call that presence, constantly coming back to presence.
Oh, thank you. Presence. Perfect. Yeah. And Ronnie, I see you right above Connie. So how about you?
Well, my name is Ronnie Walter. I live on the Gulf Coast of Florida, so it's hot. And I am the author and illustrator of Gratitude with Attitude, how journaling thankfulness for just 5 minutes a day can change your life. And it's a fill-in journal, so it's super easy, super fun for those of us who have super short attention spans. And I'd say my self-care has a lot to do with, I am an artist and an illustrator, and I also coach artists on how to bring their work further into the world. And I have a morning practice that is very, I don't want to say regimented, but I do something regularly. I do some morning pages, and then I also try to draw and sketch something before I engage in the rest of the world. So I use my drawing as a meditation practice to just move images out of my head and onto the paper. So that is something that I do regularly. And then during the day, I occasionally stop and stare at my dog. Another meditation project, yes.
Will we be able to meet your dog during this?
Oh, he often stops it whenever he hears my Zoom voice, and he usually breaks through the door. So possibly Larry will make an appearance, but no promises.
We'd love it. We'd love it. Thank you so much. I love that. And I love that you yourself use the drawing, right, as part of your self-care. And then you've given it and gifted it to us through that. I love your journal, right?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, right. So, I mean, that's beautiful. Thank you. Dawna. Hi.
Aloha. So I'm Dawna Markova, and I have 3 books with me, all of which Mango distributes. This one is having its 20th birthday, so it's called I Will Not Die an Unlived Life. And my self-care practice, besides just melting into, I have 2 dogs, besides melting into my 2 dogs, is to read the poem that started this book to myself out loud, first thing before my feet hit the floor. So it's my centering, it's my way of respiring, inspiring, and conspiring myself and the world. So that's my self-care practice. And I will read the poem if I might.
I was just about to
read
ask,
it yet.
you if you would. We'd love it.
In Maui, it's still morning. So
Wow.
it begins, I wrote the poem the day my father, who was very important to me, the day he died. And my tears turned to ink, which became this poem. So I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit.
Oh,
Wow.
I know, right? Oh,
So beautiful.
Dawna,
Thank you very much.
you. What a perfect poem for right now. As yes. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, goodness. So I'm Richert Belul. I live in San Francisco. My book is Say It Now, and it's 33 creative ways to say I love you to the most important people in your life. And my everything in life is about celebrating ourselves and celebrating the people we love. And so no doubt for me that what has really been my self-care practice during this is things like this connection. It's really all about I'm doing all kinds of things to connect to my family and my friends and to people like you who are, you know, just so generous and loving and wonderful. And I really feel like that keeps my heart so happy right now, even though I know there's so much going on. And it goes out to all of the people who are suffering right now, people who are dying and so many losses. But at the same time, I'm so grateful for the people that I'm connected with. So that's what keeps me going right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized before we continue, because I've got some questions for our panelists and I want to keep going, but a lot of people have just joined us and I wanted to say welcome and hello. And also just to do a little housekeeping so that people know if they want to participate, how they can do that. So right now, I think everybody is muted. Thank you so much, because that keeps a really clear line for our panelists. And if you're logged into your computer and you want to join in the conversation, if you hover over where it says participants, it will bring up a list of all of us. And there is a little icon that says raise hand. And so you could do that. I'll keep this open and try and keep looking. If you're on video, then you could just raise your hand, because you know. Or if you're calling in by phone, *6 will unmute you, and you can then just start speaking. And I think some of you might be logged in by the computer, but we don't see you. Then you could also just click on that little microphone icon, and that will unmute you. And there is a chat box. If anybody's having trouble, you want to communicate with us and you're having trouble, go ahead and, you know, you could post in the chat and we'll all kind of try and keep an eye on that together. Cool. So just along those lines, anybody have any questions? Just that, everybody, does that make sense? Yeah. Oh, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, because I want to make sure that people feel, we are going to have an official sort of Q&A at the end. But also, if you hear something and you want to comment or you want to share your story or you want to ask something, please do. You know, we're very informal around here. So again, *6 or clicking on the little microphone will unmute you. If you want to raise your hand, we'll keep an eye on the participant list here. Okay, so now that we've all met, I want to go back and go around to each of our panelists again. And I know you each brought some wisdom to share with us during this time, some things that you think would be really helpful to support people. So let's just randomly, let me see, Ronnie, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Okay, well, one of the things I want to remind everyone is that, I mean, I've worked at home for over 30 years, and since I'm basically unemployable. But I want people to understand that even if you've worked at home or you have, this hasn't made a huge change in your life, it's not normal. This is not normal. So working at home under a pandemic is not a normal situation, even though I'm sort of working in the same sort of structure in which I normally work. Everyone's living under a bit of it. There's like a film over us. And so that we just have to remind ourselves that this is not normal. And when things aren't normal, it's time to sometimes disengage from things. And that is perfectly okay to do that. I'm going with the minimal, the minimal amount to get the job done these days, because I think that we are under a lot of stress and we need to take care of ourselves. So do what you need to do, but there's no reason that you have to write the great American novel this week or feel like, oh, well, now's the time that I organize every single closet in my house. It's okay to not do that. It's okay. This is not normal.
Right.
And I'm trying to impart that to my coaching clients. Like, we can disengage a little bit. Like, we all want to be helpful and useful to our communities, but we don't have to just go insane with being at this frantic pace, because it's just not normal to do that.
Thank you, Ronnie. What a great reminder. What I heard in that too was a lot of acceptance, really accepting ourselves where we are and what we feel moved to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've seen this a lot, and I think a lot of it comes from the creative community in which I exist, that there's this, oh, we get this great opportunity, we can do all these things. And my feeling is, well, you weren't called to do that before. I mean, yeah, you can do that now if you want to, but I don't want people to feel this huge burden of, now I have to be uber creative because I owe it to the world, or I owe it to extra time that I have. That it's okay to take care of yourself in this and stay with your sort of normal, as keep this urge to perform so that other people see how well you're doing. It's just not sustainable. And I just like, okay, everybody, let's just, it's okay to watch funny Netflix stand-up or things that are nostalgic for you, that bring you comfort and soothing moments. That's a good thing to do. The creativity will still be there on the other side, and it's still lurking. You just have to take care of yourself.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Ronnie. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I wrote this book about gratitude because I really believe in gratitude. And right now I'm just super grateful that I bought chocolate chips when they had a really good sale. So I'm good for the baking for the duration. So I'm quite grateful for that. Whatever it takes, baby.
And I have to say, I'm really grateful for your sense of humor. From the very first time I ever met you, you're just fun, and we need to laugh right now, and I thank you for that. Right? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not going to read War and Peace in the next 6 weeks. No, that ain't gonna happen.
Oh, thank you, Ronnie. I love it.
My pleasure.
All right, Dawna, how about you?
Well, it's interesting. I found myself doing this a lot in the last week or so. I just found myself going back and forth and doing this rocking, and my brain thinks in stories, long loops of stories. And I thought, for some reason, just came in my mind as I was rocking, of words of a man named Buckminster Fuller, who was a remarkable man. But he said at the end of his life, I think it was the last thing he ever said, "I seem to be a verb." And I've thought about that for decades. And I thought about, as I was trying not to, but watching the news way too much, I thought about pandemic. When have I ever experienced this before? And my rocking helped me to remember when my son was born, which was a moment of miracle. It was also a moment of great difficulty, and was I going to live, and was he going to live? And there was nothing but the present moment. There was absolutely nothing for a very long time. And when they finally put him in my arms, and I just began to rock.
Oh.
And I found myself saying to him, I don't sing. Unfortunately, I didn't sing to him, or I would have scared him. Somebody never would have related to me ever again. But I found myself saying to him, as is, as is, as is.
Wow.
Those were the first 2 words that I ever said to him that he ever heard. And when we were later in his life, he was 4 years old, 5 years old, and my life had fallen totally apart. I mean, it was a very ooky, sad, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad part of my life. And I ended up writing a column for a magazine called New Woman Magazine. And the column was called Alternate Lifestyle for a Frustrated Housewife. And I was driving around the world. I drove 40,000 miles, 2 years, with this 4-year-old boy in a white Mercedes diesel. And we went every place. And I did it because I didn't know how to be alone. In my family, a woman never did anything alone. So I had to learn everything from scratch, which is pretty much what I feel like every day now. Anyway, at some point there was a smallpox epidemic, to go back to the first thing that I said, pandemic, epidemic. And I didn't speak any language that even closely resembled something that could be communicated with the people around me, but they were burning bodies on the sides of the roads. It was a disaster. And David started to cry.
Oh.
And I picked him up in my arms, and he was, bulky, but he's still fit. And I just rocked him back and forth. And he said, I'm scared, Mommy. I'm scared, Mommy. And I said, well, of course you're scared. Of course you're scared. And then he said, I can hear your heart beating. And I said, what is it saying? And he said, oh, those words you used to say to me all the time. It's saying, as is. As
Wow.
is. As is. So I find myself a lot when I watch the news, because I want to bear witness to what's going on. When it's my birthday, as it was yesterday, my 78th birthday, I find myself bringing my hand to the center of my heart, and I also bring my other hand. So one hand is my fear, and the other hand is my wisdom. And I find myself just breathing to the infant, the squalling infant that is my fear, and just going, as is, as is, as is.
I hope we recorded that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's extraordinary.
Yes, you
So
betcha,
true.
Brenda. Dawna, did you want to say more, Brenda?
No, I just was like, that was so deep, and I'm so glad we're doing this.
Wow. And yes, I want to say, Dawna, I mean, I think I told you this when we did our Facebook conversation, but the poetry of your stories, the way that you're able to just like plant us in the moment with you, it's just amazing and such a gift, right? I mean, this is what I love. And, we keep saying this, but I feel like I have to keep saying it. Each of the authors that I've met at Mango just brings such a unique way of being and healing. And that, for me, at least, it's that poetry of the way you tell a story. Thank you.
I make your thanks welcome in me.
And happy belated birthday.
Thank you, dear midwife of this book. Brenda midwife this book.
Oh, well, Connie, how about you? What would you like to share? What wisdom right now to support us?
I'm still really feeling the resonance from Dawna's share there, and it relates so much to the practice of being present. I'm just glad to hear, actually, Dawna, thank you for sharing. I didn't know that in a generation's lifetime there's been something similar to this. So I about the smallpox epidemic that I didn't know about. So thank you for sharing that with us and knowing that some of us have been through something like this. So I keep coming back to, your as is actually really relates a lot to me with my practice of presence, which I've learned from my teacher, Leonard Jacobson. And I define presence as bringing our awareness and attention into the present moment as it is. So not with the stories that we like to tell about the present moment, but really seeing it and feeling it as it is in my body right now. Right here with, the sun shining outside my window, which was raining a while ago, but now the sun is shining and there's a breeze blowing. And with an open heart, so that means we're open and receptive to what is, rather than resisting it or fighting it or fearing it, and a quiet mind, which sounds like that should be easy, but we all know it's not so easy for our minds to be quiet. But we're inviting more of that spaciousness in our mind. We're letting go of our attachment to thoughts and trying to come back to just how this moment is right now. And I've been putting it in practice. And I want to tell people also that, I'll come back to that in a moment, that whatever you're feeling is okay. My clients are feeling the whole range of emotions, not just anxiety and fear, but, grief. We're grieving the loss of our regular communities and activities and things. My daughter was grieving that she couldn't be on badminton team anymore. Looks like, the rest of the year, probably it's done. And some people are angry. We're angry about this happening, or that it's, unfolded in this way. And there are no bad feelings. There are no wrong feelings. We feel what we feel, and we honor what we feel. And every emotion, in my opinion, I wrote the book focused on anxiety, but every emotion has a gift for us. Every emotion is of value and is trying to support us in our healing and our growth and our transformation. So coming back to the practice of presence, which is the first key in my 7 keys in my book. I've had to really put it in practice the last couple of weeks because I have had heart palpitations and had to actually go to urgent care. And I thought, well, how ironic, right? Am I having anxiety? Is that what's going on here? But through blood tests found out that I have hyperthyroid going on. And urgent care is not the place that I wanted to have to go this week, right? No one wants to go anywhere near a hospital right now. But my practice of presence got me through it. I was present with the fluorescent lights over my hospital bed and just staying here with my breath and not letting my mind go into all the projections of what could happen and what's going to happen to me, or is there going to be coronavirus at the hospital? I'm right here in this moment breathing, and I'm present. And I've been able to keep coming back to that inner place of calm, no matter what the situation is, because I find most of the time when I'm in fear, when I'm in anxiety, it's because I'm telling a story. So coming back to just feeling my sensations, being here with and for myself. And that brings in the practice of self-compassion, which is my 3rd key in the book. Of just, okay, I can be here with myself as I'm feeling this, as I'm scared, as I'm angry, as I'm grieving. And just be present with that. Like you were saying earlier, Sherry, or no, it was Ronnie, that we don't have to be ultra productive right now. We can just be here for ourselves, and that's more than enough. And that's probably what we really need.
Ah, wow. And Connie, this is the first time I'm meeting you.
And you're my neighbor up in San Francisco.
I know. But what I want to say to you is the moment that you came on video, I just felt that sense of presence and peacefulness from you. Like you just radiate that. And so it's such a gift, even before you share verbally, because I could tell you live it. You really embody it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do my best, and I'm not perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Yeah. So I realized I didn't really think about, I was so interested in what other people were going to be sharing. I didn't really think about what I wanted to say, but it's occurring to me again, because my heart is so happy to be here with all of you, and that what really is so important, I think, right now in my world, and what I'm most wanting to share is that movement from me to we that everybody has been talking about. I think it's, there's so many hard things going on, and that is one of the big bright spots, is the way that people are coming together like this in a million different ways. They're coming together as families, they're coming together as friends or colleagues at work, and I just, as much as possible for myself and for anyone that will listen, just want to keep saying that, like, who else needs to be included? Who else needs to be included? Who do we know in our circles that was already going through a process of grief, right? And now there's all of this layered on top of it, and maybe that person needs us more than ever. Maybe there's somebody who was already sick. I have friends who are already going through chemotherapy. And now, just like Connie said, it's like it's a whole new world at the hospitals. It's a whole new world in our medical institutions. And so I guess that when I talk about connecting, there's connecting like this, which is so wonderful. And there's also all kinds of other connecting. So maybe my things are really about, who in your life needs you right now to show up in a new way. And I just want to give a plug for one of my very favorite ways to connect with people, which is the voice recording on these old smartphones. I love to turn on that voice recorder and maybe have some music playing that means something to the person. And, the other day I had some Dalai Lama chanting in the background, and I left a voice note for someone, but that we can do that in a matter of minutes. And it's so centering to do. And then you can just share it by email, by text. And it's such a few steps above an email or a text in the sense of how personal it can be. We could read someone a poem. We could stand outside and let them hear the birds, especially if it's someone who is not able to go outside right now. So I guess that just popped up for me as the one thing I wanted to talk about today, is to make sure that we're opening up the circle and opening up our thoughts to who's out there right now. They may not have a community or may not have daily interactions. And can we write them a letter, an old-fashioned letter, and put that, in the mail so they get that? Or can we take a video of ourselves saying how much we love them and what we love about them? Simple, simple, simple things to make sure that people feel included right now.
Well, that's what's so great about our pandemic is we have all these options, whereas previous situations, like Dawna was talking about the smallpox, the communication, just even making a phone call was a big deal. To call someone, and so we have this, everything is at our fingertips. And seriously, just a text that says, "How are you today?" is so miraculous in so many ways that I did that yesterday. I just thought, I'm just going to sit on this couch, drink my coffee, and text a whole bunch of people with basically just that, which is like super easy.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, this is really hard for me, but I did it, and it was amazing how quickly people responded, and it just turned into like a real conversation. And to me, that is just, it's still a miracle. It's still a miracle that we can just do that. And you can do it while you're walking your dog. You can do it while drinking coffee. It's not a big, hairy deal. Or even in my younger days when, you were on a long distance call and you're like 7 cents a minute, and you were, worried about how long it was going to take to have this conversation with someone. Like, wait, we're up to $3.75. This isn't worth it. And so I really love the technology that has made us connect with each other in such a beautiful, beautiful way. And I have family that's all over the United States, and it's so great that we can Skype or use Zoom to see each other's faces and to laugh. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Ronnie,
reminded us that we can do that.
Why am I not surprised that you're bringing in gratitude for technology right now?
Yeah.
I love that. I love what you just said about the simplicity of it, and yeah. I'm curious if anybody else, you know, could be people on the panel or people who are here joining us, if there's anything that came up while you were listening to what we were all sharing, or anything that you wanted to add to the conversation.
Well, what you were just saying, Sherry, about, connecting and how it's amazing that we have this medium to be able to connect with, but not everyone does. And it just reminds me of a walk that my husband and daughter and I took down our street yesterday. That there's this old gentleman that walks the street every day. He's got this wild, long, crazy gray hair. It's like, and he walks with he uses 2 bamboo sticks to walk with. He's quite an amazing character, big bushy beard. And we love talking with him. And we stopped him to see how he was doing. And that conversation ended up being so meaningful for all of us. We didn't know that his wife had passed away a couple months ago.
Oh.
We hadn't, just to take the time to ask how he is and ask what's going on. And we let him know, we're here for you. And he just teared up to know, because he's living alone. And so you never know what you might be able to do to make a difference for someone. And it might be just walking down the street, because a lot of people are trying to get out and do what they can in terms of exercise. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. A lot of us feel like, oh, maybe I should be volunteering my time right now. Or I feel a little pressure as a therapist to feel like maybe I should be doing more pro bono work right now, but I'm not feeling well. And so that's something, though, that I could do, is just with someone walking down the street to ask how they are, to check in with them and be present with them for a little while. So we can think about, we don't have to do big things right now, but there might be little things like texting that you're saying, like calling someone that you haven't called in a long time, or like saying hi and starting a conversation with a neighbor that can help them through this time.
Ah, that is so beautiful. And I really love, Connie, what you said about, we don't know, right? I can't think of it. There's that beautiful quote, about, we don't know what someone's going through. Does anybody know that
Right.
quote?
I think I know.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that exact thing, that it's like someone's walking down the street, we don't know. And, it's a little unfortunate right now with the social distancing, but you can have a conversation from that distance.
6 feet.
Right?
Yeah.
And
and we did.
I was so touched by that, to think of, and I think that that's exactly it, that, for particularly maybe people who aren't comfortable on the internet, this is probably a very different experience for people who live alone. So they're at home by themselves, quarantined, maybe not on the internet. And so that's so beautiful. Like when they're out walking, how can we share a moment?
One of the things that brings to me, both, actually all of you speaking of, the word connecting is really important to me and inspiring, as I said. And Brenda was also part of this little book that I wrote called, or many of us wrote, called Random Acts of Kindness. And it's just its anniversary too. It happens to be right for a long time. And so I want to read one little story from my grandmother, who actually taught me about random acts of kindness and what it really means, and how it is a way of connecting from the heart. And so I'll read the story and then I'll tell you how it's relevant to me today. When I was quite small, my immigrant Russian grandmother once told me that people in this country, meaning the United States, give from the wrong place. When you give from here, she said, pointing to her solar plexus and then her head, and she said a word that I can't pronounce, never could. And it's like keeping a ledger book. It's like, I give you 3, so you give me 1. I give you 2, so you give me 2. And I sweep the floor, you carry the bundles. And she pushed the wisps of her white hair out of her eyes with the back of her red hands, shaking her head back and forth. Tick, tick, tick. There's a little sound she made when the back of her tongue would touch her teeth. And she said, that's not giving, that's trading. You give your soul away when you give like that. Giving is supposed to be from here. And she pointed to her heart, to the center of her chest. When you give from your heart, it's not to get anything back. There is no owing or owed. You just give because you want to give. When you give like this, it fills you up. It can't empty you because your heart never runs out. The more you give from there, the fuller it will be. Then she wiped her hands on the lemon yellow apron and pulled me to her. It's like giving a hug. You remember this, Quetzala, which means little kitten. When you give like this, there are no strangers. And remember to notice when other people give to you like this, and be sure to say thank you. And that lesson what actually inspired writing Random Acts of Kindness for me. And I received a letter from my doctor 2 weeks ago that said, you will die if you get this disease, because I have a lot of lung issues. So you stay in the house. Well, you can't tell me not to go out. However, I have these people that are my legs for me. And so I've been making banana bread because we have a profusion of banana. And there's this young man named McKenna who's 6'6", I think. And he comes and brings us groceries and he takes things, and he has been taking my banana bread and leaving it on the front doors of the people in our neighborhood. And but the important thing that I told him is you can't leave it when anybody is there. So, and there's no thank yous involved. Just leave it with, and I put little bows on it, of course, and just leave it. And McKenna came back and he was grinning from ear to ear and said, that was the best thing I've done in 2 weeks. I said, yes, McKenna, yes. And I just thought of my grandmother and she was smiling too. So I wanted to bring that voice here. And there are many people that don't have technology and many people that don't understand it. And they can't be left out. I love the idea of phone calls, but they can't be left out.
Right.
So.
Right.
Thank you, Dawna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very good point that, you know, either they need to be sort of walked through some of the technology, or we have to find different ways to reach out. And, you know, I've designed a lot of greeting cards in my career. And that is the beautiful part of a greeting card, is that it is just this, it's a folded piece of paper that means everything to someone. And so, and we all have stockpiles of them. So it's time to get them out and stick stamps on them, because I mean, a greeting card, I mean, that is huge. That is huge to get an actual folded piece of paper in the mail. It's a great, great thing. Mm-hmm. Great thing.
I love that. And I wanted to say, Robin just said, my grandma just used Zoom for the first time and she's 89.
Yay!
Yay, grandma.
That's great.
Yay, grandma.
I love that.
You're never too old.
I love that. And I also wanted to thank MJ for, I know you've added some comments in there about, you know, what this has meant to you. And yeah, Ronnie, yes. You know, and when you said that, it reminded me also of another simple thing I love to do is we all have so many photos, and, you know, I'm a big fan of having them printed somewhere and then sending them to people. That's not as possible right now. But if we have a computer and you can, you know, easily print out a photo, and that is just one of the most wonderful things, you know, and then just to have a little like, remember this day, you know, we'll be seeing each other again in person someday soon, right? Like something like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else coming up for anybody that they would like? If there's anybody who is not on video and you want to unmute, you can just press that little microphone icon, or you could share in the chat. Oh, Brenda, are you raising your hand?
Brenda, you have a question?
She's raising her hand.
I do. I do. So I've been watching the news, and it can be stultifying. Yeah. I mean, like just too much, you know, it just seems like unrelenting, like scary statistics and not enough ventilators and all that. And it made me wish that there was like good news, a flood of good news coming. And so I wondered, like, how could we get out good news? Like, I wish there was like a cable channel dedicated to nothing but good news. But like, what could we do now to like just share upliftment? Because I think everybody's hearts are really heavy, and we need any little uplifting we can get. So I just wondered what ideas we could toss around about bringing good news, becoming bearers of good news and positivity amongst this challenge.
Oh, I love that. Brenda, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that and maybe some other people who are in my community know this, that, I have a group called the Secret Agents of Change. And it's a Facebook group where people go out and do kind missions and then share the story of what that felt like to do. And I've been so inspired by that group. And of course, we're posting and sharing those good news all the time. But I've been thinking so much, and I just, for the first time, thought, oh, I should be sharing these on my personal Facebook profile too, right? Because it's just a group. And we could share them in the, in the Mango Facebook group, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could, when I think about the number of amazing authors and people and what they're doing, that's what dropped in for me right away. I'm curious, what do other people?
Well, I'm finding that, I'm limiting my exposure as much as I can to all of that. So I sort of dash into Facebook, do what I need to do, and then leave. Because even though there are people that I love in there, and there are people that I'm certainly aligned with philosophically, the negativity is just, I'm really starting to feel that negativity. So everything that I'm putting out, as far as what I'm going to put on my feed or how I'm going to converse with someone, is really as positive as possible. And so like something funny, a cartoon that I'm drawing, something like that, snippets from my sketchbook that are funny. I just am deciding not to engage. And I think that, some people just have to live there. And I understand why, but I can't live in that heightened anxiety and heightened anger place. I can go there easily, but I'm really choosing not to do that. And so I'm trying to bring as many people into we're not denying what's going on or feeling like we are, downplaying anything that's happening, but we just can't live there. And that's one of the things I'm trying to impart on the Facebook Lives that I do, is that we can't live in that space of anxiety and fear. We just can't. So without feeling like you're a total bubblehead for not doing it, that there has to be a balance in there. And that's what I'm trying to bring, as far as, because I just can't live in that fire hose of news and anxiety. Just can't. I don't know if that answered your question, Brenda, as an idea of what to do, except stop engaging. So just cut that out. So.
One thing I want to add, as always, Brenda, you midwife ideas for me, but this, so much of what we're talking about, somebody just flashed up the Good News Network on that little chat thing, and I'm going to look it up. But so much of what we're talking about is visual and auditory. There is what's called the kinesthetic channel, which is a way that your brain processes information that's very significant, that's physical. And yesterday, this is linking to Random Acts of Kindness too, I was cleaning out a cabinet while listening to the news. And I found this box of little shampoo bottles from all the hotels when I used to travel and consult. And I have evidently kept all those little bottles. And I thought, well, I'm 78. I don't really need this anymore. I'm not going, what am I going to do with hundreds of these little bottles? So when Andy and I walked on the beach by going through a gate that says do not enter, there were homeless people living on the beach, and they've locked and closed out all the bathrooms except for one. And there's one shower. And so we just started throwing the bottles at people and leaving the bottles by the shower for the homeless people. And that's an action. It's not visual, it's not auditory, it's not, you know, on a screen. But there's a lot of people that are homeless here where I live. And I understand the, you know, I hate the word social distancing. It should be physical distancing, not social distancing.
Yes.
Nonetheless, that we all have we all have a body, we all have a kinesthetic, we all have a physical. And sometimes it's those little actions that mean more than anything else. Now, one of the people grabbed our puppy and started, you know, ruffling the hair of our puppy. And Andy went like this because, oh, he's going to get coronavirus on the puppy. So we came home and we washed the puppy with one of the little bottles of shampoo that we kept for ourselves. Nonetheless, the puppy didn't know he was homeless, and the puppy, you know, so he wanted some contact. He wanted something to hold on to. So I think that we can connect and do good news in ways that are not only visual and auditory, but that shampoo was good news for those people that had only one shower on the whole island to take, and no soap and no shampoo.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Connie, did you want to say something? It looked like you had something to say.
Yeah, about Brenda's, you know, query about how we can share good news and be positive and uplifted. And one of the things that I'm focusing on, which is related to Ronnie's focus on gratitude, is appreciation. And who can I appreciate and what can I appreciate them for, to let them know that they matter to me in my life. And what do I appreciate in my life that I can share, like on Facebook or whatever, to help others think about, okay, what are they appreciating even in this difficult moment right now? Because as Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith says, he's one of my inspirations, what you appreciate appreciates. So it grows the more that you appreciate. And same thing, I think, with gratitude. A couple other things that I'm thinking of are remembering that it's okay for us to have fun and to laugh during this time, and to try to me, that's like a great panacea for anxiety, that when I do something that I know makes me laugh or is silly, like my daughter and husband and I, we all love to run and jump on the bed and just take a flying leap across the room, and we always laugh and it's always silly. It just helps shift and break things up so that we can find, okay, even in this moment right now, there's joy. There are things that can bring laughter and lightheartedness. And then thinking about how I can cultivate love more in myself and in my life. So I practice meditating on love and receiving that sense of unconditional love, and then sending it out to the world. And that kind of cycles back, I think, to Dawna's story, that when we're giving from our personal energy, we're always going to feel like we need something back or we feel depleted. But when we tap into something infinite and greater than us, if we imagine tapping into the source of all love and letting that come through us and fill us first, and then the overflow goes out to others, then you have more than enough to give, and there's no thought of what comes in return, because you're not giving from your own personal energy. You're letting that infinite source of love come through you to offer to others. So those are things for me that keep me more in the positive, that keep my spirits up, and then I try to share with others to be able to practice in their lives to stay in a more uplifted and loving and heart open place during this.
Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful distinction, you know, that you just made about that difference. And, you know I could feel that when you were talking about it, that difference of giving from that smaller, you know, personal way versus trying to simply open up to be a channel. And
exactly.
That energizes me, you know, which I think is one of the reasons I actually have felt so much more energy these past few weeks, is I've been really meditating a lot, as you have too. So, yeah.
Right.
I'm curious if anybody else has any thoughts on what Brenda had asked, or anything in general.
Or questions.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's 2:24. I'm glad you said that. I did have someone write a question to me that they were hoping that you guys might answer. which is obviously we all love the books that you guys have written and that you brought, but someone wanted to know, are there other books that you're finding that you're pulling off the shelf a lot more right now during this time that are serving you?
I'm reading, I mean, I always read fiction in the evening because I can't shut off my brain. And so I only read lighter fiction in the evening. But there's a book, and it's a total business book, but it's called The One Thing. And it's a reminder of that our brains only work on one track at a time. And so I pulled that out. It's all marked up because I read it a couple of years ago, but I pulled it out again because I had to remind myself that brains only work at one thing at a time. The multitasking idea is really not physically possible. And so that book has really helped me as a reminder to do one thing well at a time and not feel like I have to have 27 things going at any moment, which a lot of freelance self-employed people tend to do. And now that's sort of, you know, heightened. And so it was a good reminder for me to just go, yeah, that's not physically possible. So calm it down, sister. And that has helped me. That has helped me.
Great suggestion. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Anybody else want to share a book?
Yeah, I thought of one. Goes by my nightstand, and I don't read it till the morning when I'm about to get out of bed after I've done my wake up meditation. And it's called Bearing Witness, which is what I mentioned before. And it's by a man named Bernie Glassman, who was a Zen monk, who worked in some incredibly difficult places with incredibly difficult people. And when I read that, I think about how easy it is for all of us to do what my grandmother would call putting whipped cream over garbage. And she literally did that to teach me this lesson. She would whip heavy cream in a big glass bowl and pour it over garbage. And she would just do her finger like this. She said, you must deal with the garbage. And so what Bernie Glassman's book reminds me and has taught me and continues to teach is to not be so filled with trying to generate joy, but to bear witness. Each of us has been standing behind us, ancestors that prayed that we would be here. And they came through incredible suffering and incredible pain to be here. And there are around us, therefore, situations which we must bear witness to, which we must strengthen ourselves and our hearts and comfort ourselves and our hearts and pass out our banana bread, but also bear witness. For people, I was raped at 14. If there had been people there who had been bearing witness, even if they couldn't have done anything to stop it, it would have made all the difference. There were people in the concentration camps who lived around the concentration camps who turned their backs to it. They never talked about it. They sang songs and drank beer. So right now we are being asked to bear witness to some very, very difficult things. And we need to strengthen ourselves and be compassionate with ourselves, and paint and draw and make out of clay and sing also about the suffering that's going on, so we can bear witness and learn from it. It's also we can learn from it. And our hearts are strong enough to do it. Our hearts are strong enough to bear witness. Our hearts are strong enough to learn from it. So that's what I want to share.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. You know, I just read something the other day about how we need a written narrative of what's happening right now from a person's perspective. Because when we look back in history, people's actual, this is what happened to me type narrative has informed so much of the historical data that we have, instead of just relying on the media or relying on filters of what is happening, but actual people's experience. And they were saying, don't even put it on your computer, write it on paper, because that becomes the document of our history. And I found that to be super powerful. And I really love to journal, and journaling to me is how you know, sort of the brain and your hand just do this thing that you don't do when you're typing. But I thought that was really interesting to sort of document exactly how you're feeling and what's happening in your community, in your town, from your own perspective, not someone else's filter. And that is bearing witness to, this is how I feel, this is what's happening in my community. And that is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Thank you for that. Thank you. You guys, unfortunately, we are almost at the top of the hour, and I hate to say goodbye. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Connie, but you opened this up so beautifully. And I'm wondering if you could also close out our time together.
I'd be very happy to. Can I just acknowledge a couple things in the group chat before we go? That
Please. Yeah. And I also wanted to
Robin,
say, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You want to do that?
Well, no. Go. I please do it. That I just wanted to say a general goodbye, and then we'll have you close it out, and we'll leave.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just noticed that Robin posted something that looks like inspiring if people want to be uplifted by some good going on in the world, and that Christina said that she loved that we were talking about compassion towards others along with self-care and meditation, that the grace extends to others. So I just want to acknowledge those. But yeah, I'd be happy to close it out. And I'm just really grateful to have been together with you, Sherry and Ronnie and Dawna. I think we all brought special and unique and needed pieces to this.
Yeah, and before I have you close it out, I want to thank Brenda again. I had no idea you were coming, and that was such a
so
beautiful surprise. And just to thank all of you who were here, whether you shared or you shared in the chat, or you were here silently with us. We feel you, and everyone matters, and your energy is here with us. And thank you. Thank you so much. And MJ, thank you. I just read your that's very sweet.
And I just wanted to say that my intention is this becomes a weekly thing. Yeah.
I was thinking that.
And that,
yes.
Other voices can be heard. And so if there are ideas and suggestions on how to make it even more meaningful for people, that would be wonderful. So send on your ideas, chat them, tweet them. We're listening, and we want to connect.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, Connie.
So let's all again take a moment, first of all, with eyes open, just to see who has been here, even if we're just seeing names. I'm just taking a look at everyone who's been here with us this whole time, and honoring all of you who've come together, all of us who've come together. And now let's close our eyes with that warmth in our heart from the gifts that we've given and we've received from this time together. That there's so many of us out there that are intending to support what's going on the planet, and to support each other in healing and being resilient through this. And let's just take a moment to breathe into our bodies right now and feel ourselves right here, where we are, however we are, to embrace ourselves unconditionally. And to feel that greater presence that is holding us, the all that is, the divine, the sacred. And that as we are present with ourselves in the moment with open hearts, that more of that infinite wisdom and love and healing and knowledge and kindness and compassion can flow through us as we complete this call together here and as we go forward into our lives. I give thanks for this time together, and I know that it will send ripples out and many blessings out. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. Thank you all. I'll post the recording in the Mango Facebook page, if that's okay, Brenda, so that people can find it there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry, for putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Fantastic.
Mahalo and aloha.
Goodbye, everyone.